All right, welcome back into the Great Scott Show, 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420, the greatest sports talk of all time. Joining me now, Louisiana Ragin Cajun head coach Bob Marlin. Basketball season is here. Monday night, Cajun Dome, women's, men's doubleheader. And, Coach, I feel like I tell you this every year, but you've been doing it a long time. What's the excitement level now for you right before a season starts compared to when you were just getting started out in this profession?
It's the same, just more experienced, but energized, ready to go out and play well and have a chance to win the league. I mean, we've been very consistent over my time as a head coach and been one of the better teams in the league. And sometimes you get to the finish line, sometimes you don't. But we're picked first this year. I know we'll talk about that, and it's exciting. We're embracing the challenge.
Yeah, no doubt. I want to ask you a little bit about your staff. I know Donovan Gates is here. Casey Perrin's on your staff, and a couple other guys were moved into different spots. But strength coach Oliver Houston. What is the synergy like with the staff? How have you guys kind of gelled, and how would you describe the room right now with you and your staff?
It's been fantastic. The new guys have brought a lot of energy and wisdom to our program. They're hungry. All three of those guys were basically in non-coaching roles at SEC schools. So the next move was to actually get on the court, teach, and recruit. And our staff has adjusted accordingly here, Coach Harden and Coach Murphy, to welcome those guys in. And then we've got Cole Wakefield's a graduate assistant, done a great job for us too. So we really like the synergy and think it's better than it's been in a while.
That's good. Yeah, I think, how would you describe a normal practice as far as the duties, right? Obviously you're the head coach, but we talk about synergy as staff. Like, how would, on a normal practice, Coach Gates be used, Coach Perrin, you, across the board?
Well, Donovan Gates drifts to the defensive side of it in practice. He and Coach Zimmerman, Derek Zimmerman, second year with us, who's done a good job also. And then Coach Perrin sides on the offensive side more of the basketball. But we all coach everybody every day. All our coaches do, and whether it's watching film with them or being on the court, we're trying to teach the total game to our guys.
Louisiana head coach Bob Marlin, our guest. I watched a couple of streams of your games in Puerto Rico. When you guys have traveled internationally, you've had really great seasons. Is that a coincidence? Is there the obvious thing, coach, is you've got more practice time, just not just practice, but just the team is together experiencing something. So you talk about that team unity. I know it's something you can only do every 4 years, but historically it's been really good for y'all.
It's been fantastic, and I think it makes a huge difference, Scott, the opportunity to get together. The practice time has changed because now the NCAA has allowed more practice time in the summer, but back when they started that rule, you couldn't practice with certain days, and then you would get 10 days extra practice to go. But it's the camaraderie. In 2013 we went to Spain and had a great experience there and played some tough teams. We won the championship that year in the conference tournament, and certainly set us up for the future. Then in 17 we go to Cuba on just a remarkable trip for about 6 days and play well there and win one game, lose two. And that team won 27 games and has been the best team in this league in the last 5 years. So I think it's beneficial. We were eligible to go last year, and with COVID and the budget situation, I didn't even bring it up. And then this year, when the season was over, we talked about it a little bit, Mike Murphy and I, and Mike got a hold of the people we went to Cuba with, and I told him I wanted something quick. I don't want to go to the Bahamas or Costa Rica, but I want something quick. And we were able to throw Puerto Rico together, and it was a great experience for our team. And hopefully it'll pay off.
Yeah, what did you learn about your team there, maybe that you didn't know before?
Well, the not a lot from an X and O standpoint,
sure,
but just the ability to watch them travel, to see how they interact with people and serve other people was impressive. And every morning, Scott, we were on the beach. Coach Houston had them on the beach doing yoga, stretching, lifting weights in the spa there at the hotel. BJ Duplantis would have Kobe Julian and Joe Charles, a couple of guys that had knee issues, in the pool, jogging in the pool. And I'd get up, drink my coffee, and watch those guys every morning do that. But we spent a lot of time together. We ziplined, we paddleboarded, we played the games. And the most rewarding thing about the trip is that the freshmen or newcomers get game experience. And they've had a dress rehearsal. In the old days, we used to do a couple exhibition games.
Sure.
And kick it in like that. But no, now it's a lot different. We all go to private scrimmages.
Louisiana head basketball coach Bob Marlin, our guest. Before I ask you about your roster, NIL, a few years into it, Coach, how has it impacted your program? How has it evolved just in a short amount of time? And how much is it, a point of discussion between, the staff and the players?
Well, we've talked about it with the players. We don't talk about it on a daily basis. We've got a few people that are fortunate to pick up some extra money in that avenue, but we have tried to focus on our team. Our guys know who gets what, and it has not been an issue for us. We've got a close-knit group, and I know that's becoming more of an issue for a lot of people, but it hasn't been for us. We've been very fortunate, and it's something that's here. It's something we got to deal with. We've done some training with our guys early, as I said, and given them an opportunity to opt in some things, and some did, some didn't.
Coach Bob Marlin, our guest. Looking at your roster, there's obviously some familiar names. There's some new ones. The point guard spot, I know last year you had to kind of shuffle some guys there during the season. And part of that might have been, Cedric Russell and when he transferred. But Michael Thomas and seeing how he played, later in the year. Themis Folks, these guys come off to me as kind of your traditional point guards. Are those the two main guys in your rotation at that spot?
Yeah, that's exactly the way we're going about it. And we split time. And the games in Puerto Rico, we split time in practice with them, and we split time in our scrimmages. So both guys are playing extremely well. Michael's improved quite a bit, shooting the ball at a high percentage, and Themis is a little bit stronger. Mike uses speed, and Themis just uses strength and tries to get to the paint, and both are very successful at doing that.
Who else might get minutes at point guard?
Vince Sagona can play it a little bit. Kentrell Garnett could play it. Sure. if we needed to. We've got a couple of different guys. Greg Williams has played it in the past a little bit. So we've got some options, but the two that you first mentioned are the ones that are going to drive the bus for us.
You mentioned Garnett. I've told you before, I love his story. Former walk-on, just a key piece of the team. His three-point shooting can go across the board, but he, Jalen Dalcourt, looking at the shooting guard spot, are those two guys that'll get a lot of the minutes there, or do they get moved around? Is there some other guys that come to mind?
No, Kentrell will certainly play on the wing spot at the guard position, along with Greg and Jalen and Chancellor White. Those guys are splitting the time there, along with Vince Sagona also.
So Chancellor, is he more of like a combo? He can play the 2 or the 3. He's someone I know a lot of folks are anxious to see, get out on the floor and what he can do.
He's a good player. He can play 2, 3, or 4. If we play small ball, Scott, we can play him at the 4. Started in the last game in Puerto Rico, had 20 points, 10 rebounds, played extremely well. And he's had moments in practice where he's looked like an all-conference player. So, and I think he'll be one in time. It's just a matter of when.
Greg Williams, you mentioned him earlier, seeing him play down the stretch last season in the tournament. He does have some versatility. You said, he could play the 1. He's done it before if you needed. You'll probably play him, I'm guessing, at the 3. But you just said moving the lineup around. You feel like he got a lot of versatility where, depending on the opponent, you can kind of mix up the starting lineup a little bit this year?
Yeah, there's no doubt. We're too deep at every spot and feel comfortable with up to 10 guys. So we can play small, we can play bigger, we can put a speed group out there, a special situation group. But we certainly have experimented with different things and looked at what's best for our group. And you talked about Greg. His versatility has been really good for us. He's been great defensively, and he's such a good teammate that he turns down open shots at times. And I've been on him to shoot the ball. I want him to score. I want him to be an all-conference player like he was all-tournament in Pensacola.
Sure. Coach Bob Marlin, our guest. It's the Great Scott Show, 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420. Talking Ragin Cajun basketball season tipping off Monday night in the Cajun Dome. Kobe Julian, speaking of versatility, how's he feeling?
He's doing great. He's worked hard, had a great summer, had a great fall. He's running. He's continued to do his rehab, but his leg and quad have got stronger, and it feels totally different than the first time that he had this done. So he's on pace to come back and start practice in about a month, beginning of December, and then we'll go from there.
So Joe Charles, I know he got a little nicked up maybe at the end of one of those games in Puerto Rico. How is he feeling? And I guess the follow-up is just, while we're on the subject, how are you guys overall from a health standpoint?
Joe was injured when a guy from Puerto Rico on a shot attempt pushed Jordan Brown in the back, and he fell into Joe's knee and had some slight tear in a meniscus. So he wound up having surgery when we got back, and we were hoping that it would be not a big issue, and we were very blessed that when they got in there, instead of a 12 to 16 week recovery, it turned out to a 6 to 8 week recovery. And so Joe missed the first week of practice, but he's been out there ever since. He's playing extremely well.
I imagine he'll obviously play some at the 4, and you got I think Terrence Lewis as well. How do you I guess foresee that position shaking out this year?
Just shared between those two guys for the most part, and Terrence has played extremely well. He's a grad transfer from Jackson State. He's a guy we initially recruited out of junior college, and averaged 11 and 8 last year in SWAC play and shot 60-something% from the floor. He's very efficient, knows how to play. He's looked really good in our 2 scrimmages, and he and Joe complement each other very well.
At center, we'll talk about the preseason player of the year in a moment, but Isaiah Richards back. I know he missed, he played a little bit November, December last year, and then academically couldn't. From what I've heard, he's academically in great standing right now. And, in folks that I've talked to, they feel like he's just got a great personality, encouraging guy, good in the locker room. Isaiah, what kind of role do you see him having on the court this year?
Well, certainly he can help us giving another big body to our group, and a guy that can go in and defend and score a little bit, rebound the ball. Rebounding is his strength. It's not scoring, it's rebounding and defense. He shoots the ball well, but he's not scored in the scrimmages the way we would like to see him score. But just having him out there being a vocal leader and encouraging his teammates. He's excitable, like Jalen Dalcourt, and those guys have a big impact on our team.
They're very verbal. Jordan Brown, I know on the floor maybe isn't your sort of loud, verbal type of player. His play kind of does a lot of talking for itself. But is that an area that you feel like Jordan will maybe lean into a little more, being a little more vocal this season?
No, he has been there already. And we certainly went to Media Day in New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, and he and I rode over and spent the night, and he talked the entire way there and the entire way back. We had some really good conversations, and I feel very confident that he's going to continue to work hard and be the type of leader that he's been in practice. He's in better shape. His work ethic has changed. He feels more comfortable being here his second year, and played extremely well in our 2 scrimmages. So really couldn't be more pleased with Jordan at this stage.
We saw what he could do last year. What are areas of his game you think will be even better this year?
He'll be better defensively. He's going to be a better rebounder. Needs to continue to block shots. That's an area that we want him to keep improving in. But better passer. He's done a really good job passing out of double teams in the early scrimmages.
That's good. You know, he got doubled a lot last year, and sometimes the pass back out of it might take a little while. You could see his vision. You could see the passing ability. I think if he takes another step there, then, really not preseason, but ultimately the one you really want is Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, and he's got that potential written all over him.
Yeah, and he knows that the Player of the Year, preseason Player of the Year, is just that, preseason, the preseason poll. And we're embracing both those. We feel like we can be there at the finish line this time and cut the nets down. And Jordan's a huge part of that. He's deserving of the preseason award, in my opinion. And he has proven that by the way he played last year and certainly closing in the tournament, along with Greg being named all-tournament.
You guys are embracing the expectation. There's no backing down from it. You're leaning into it. Let's prove all those riders. Let's prove everybody right.
Yeah, and it's going to be a challenge. Our league was very difficult to pick this year, Scott. As you know, we lost 2 teams and then added 4 more. So we've got 14. And with Southern Miss, we have some familiarity. We played them last year. We played Marshall last year. I used to work at Marshall. I have a good feel for them. And they're going to be an issue because basketball is important at Marshall, and they're going to be a factor. James Madison, Mark Byington jumps in, who was at Georgia Southern. He's an excellent coach. And then Jeff Jones at Old Dominion, another place that puts a priority on basketball. Those guys are going to be tough to deal with. But it was hard to pick because of the new teams, and it's hard to pick with the portal. South Alabama's getting 10 transfers, et cetera, et cetera. It's hard to really put that down. But I told the media in New Orleans, based on our returning players, 4 great inside player, preseason pick of the year in the league, right, that we were picked first, just on returning experience, just like the national preseason team of the year has a great inside player. They returned 4 starters, and they lost on the Superdome floor in the championship game.
Right there. Yep, no doubt about it. Coach Bob Marlin is our guest, and Louisiana Ragin Cajun basketball begins this Monday. Women's and men's doubleheader. You can catch it here on 103.3 The Goat, simulcast on 1420, and men's games, all of them on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. So plenty of stations, plenty of places to hear them, and of course you can go to the Cajun Dome and watch the team Monday night for yourself, and then you guys will get ready for a matchup with Harvard, and you're kind of up and running. But I know you guys are prepared for it, Coach. Look forward to talking to you throughout the season, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Scott.